Good afternoon, everyone. I think if there was ever a time when you wanted to know what is going on in the mind of a consumer, it is now, and you are definitely in the right place to find out. Welcome to the AakAfrika webinar, and thank you for joining us from all over, from your lounges, I guess, probably some people in their beds still, offices, and maybe somebody in a holiday destination. Thank you for tuning in. It is so great to have you with us. I think more than ever, we are living in such amazing times, despite the devastation of COVID. Never before has consumerism been so interesting and so fascinating. And it is the greatest time to observe consumers interacting with brands and their take on that and just their behavior at the moment. And in a while, I'm going to hand you over to somebody who's going to present to you and just tell you exactly what we can do and how we tap into the minds of those consumers. First of all, maybe we should just do a quick little poll to get you all started and joining in the conversation. And right now, we'd like to know from you, if you could have a superpower, what would you like to have? We've got about 4 choices. One is if you could be mind reading, invisibility, teleportation, or maybe you already have your superpower. So please take part in the poll and vote and let us know what you think. Okay, so all you have to do is just click on polls. The votes are starting to come in. Mind reading, everyone wants to read minds at the moment. I think we all do. Teleportation, that's my favorite. And some of you saying that you already have your superpower. Amazing. Votes are still coming in. If you don't know where to click, there's just a little button at the bottom of your screen that says poll, so just click on that and you can partake in that and just vote. Okay, it seems like mind reading is taking over. Definitely mind reading. Okay. My favorite, and I think my personal one, is teleportation. I always run around and there's not enough time. And I think if I could cut out traffic, I would love to actually just transport myself from one place to the other instantly and just appear for meetings and gatherings and so on. So, but it looks at the moment like mind reading is our winner at the moment. And I think with that, I think at the moment we would probably all like to know what is going on in the mind of a consumer. Teleportation is the second biggest vote at the moment. And there's about 3 of you that said you already have a superpower. I'd love to know what that is. Now, just talking a bit more about consumerism and consumers. Maria and I were having a chat this morning on the way in, and we were just talking about some life events and things that are taking place at the moment. And Maria mentioned 2 words that really just stuck into my mind the entire day, and she talked about conscious choice. And I think more than ever, it'd be an amazing place if we can be in, if we know that a consumer is making a conscious choice to interact with us and with our brands. And I think that theme just kind of stuck with me through the entire day. And I think if we can be top of mind with our brands and our consumers, we'd be in an ideal space. I'm going to hand you over to Maria Petousis from AakAfrika, who's going to share with you some great insights at the moment, some trends, and specifically also tell you what's been happening during the COVID time in the minds of a consumer. Maria, welcome, and please share your knowledge with us.
Thank you, Benham, and a warm welcome to all our guests today, all our clients. I must be honest, I would love to see you face to face all together again, but we're excited to engage with you today on our webinar. The last event we had, Benham actually asked me this morning if he should introduce me as Maria Kurkumelis. He asked me what my new surname is, or Petousis, and I told him, please just stick to Petousis. I avoid any admin. So here I am today, and I'm delighted to present to you. Our discussion today is really just business agility around COVID and really enabling marketers to best navigate during this time. And what makes TGI powerful? How can you use this data to help you through this period and, of course, going forward? And we've got so many exciting innovations to share with you today. I can't wait to get to that section of our slides. So let's quickly just take a snapshot of what's happened. The purpose of today's presentation is really to enable you to be at the forefront of company thinking right now during COVID, and of course during the post-COVID world as well. So COVID-19 has created the perfect recipe for the perfect storm in which four things collided. And that's not necessarily good news. We're a society obsessed with social media networking and artificial intelligence. We live in an era where big data, smartphones, and cyber networks have a massive influence on everything which we do. Secondly, we're a society afraid of dying. We want to live forever. It's predicted that Homo sapiens, or should we say the genetically engineered post-human of the 21st century, will become part machine as apps monitor every part of our bodies. And then, of course, we're a society obsessed with political correctness, triggers, and cancellation culture. So you may feel familiar with hashtag activism. That's generally the order of the day. Essentially, we just post and share and share and share. And lastly, we're a society where governments have become hugely concerned about losing control, and people have lost faith in political leadership. So over the past 3 decades, governments have increasingly ceded power to digital networks. Now citizens can talk back. They have the power. The world is thus inundated with COVID-19 communication, but isn't much smarter for it. So let's look at some of the insights which we have found through our data. You've heard about the retail sales environment. The headlines are showing that we've contracted in our economy by 8%. And if we compare year on year, April this year to April last year, we've seen a 50% decline in retail sales. Our grocery expenditures obviously declined significantly. Day-to-day shopping is decreased mostly by 36%. Weekly top-up shopping by 19%, and a smaller decrease for regular monthly shopping. Media spend, digital and TV has definitely shown growth during lockdown, but advertisers have held back in terms of their advertising budgets. And we've actually seen a few sad case studies in our print environment locally where we've seen some popular titles closing down. I mean, cinema was pretty much at a halt, and outdoor advertising, of course, wasn't as effective with less audiences on the road to consume that type of media. Our attention, however, of course, was increased or did increase around TV and digital behavior. Apart from just spending 1 or 2 hours more watching television, not only for leisurely purposes, but also for educational purposes, that's definitely where our attention went. And within that context, we've become a lot more critical in general around loyalty and how we belong to brands. And we've seen an overall decrease by 8% in terms of overall loyalty, which we'll unpack a little bit more. And there's also 5% less people who belong to Stokvel if we compare to pre-lockdown. And those who do belong to Stokvel, most of them previously did save about 500 Rand or more, and this actually halved during the lockdown period. So the way in which we engage with media, with our finances, even with our loyalty, that's changed significantly during the COVID period. So just delving deeper in terms of how our finances have been hit, the incidence of gaining no primary income, that's increased by 18%. That's massive. That's almost a 20% increase in terms of people who are not generating an income anymore. Consumers are 18% more likely to consider debt to actually take out an additional loan. Obviously, life and short-term insurance purchases decreased during this period, and family contributions as a source of income increased by 7% and grants by 6%. Stokvel savings, as I mentioned earlier, halved. Our impact on shopping, a massive decrease in day-to-day shopping. We're definitely more price sensitive than we were in the past. And also comfort and quality drivers have increased. And if I think of when we used to work from home every day, those were essential elements in my daily living. Also, consumers definitely less likely to pay extra. We're a lot more budget conscious and savvy than we were before. And the essence of all of these elements are really to drive and maximize value for consumers when we go shopping. So with this 8% drop in brand loyalty during COVID-19, we really looked at TGI's psychographics and attitude statements to look at why does this happen and where does it come from. We're a lot more critical when it comes to brands that we trust or brands that we love. We don't feel that brands play that same role as they did pre-COVID. They don't put a smile on my face or our faces or really fit into our society as well as they did in the past. They don't understand us as much as we did then, but maybe that's just because we've changed so much and the role of brands really need to play a different perspective now than we did before. And an important element, of course, is also in terms of the role of uplifting communities. That's essential and definitely something which youngsters are keen to adhere to. This slide I presented a little bit earlier this week to one of our clients, and they said to me, please, can I have this slide for myself? This is a case study where we compared two retailers, and pre and post lockdown, we can see for both of the retailers, of course, that their level of loyalty has decreased. But the brand which withheld its level of loyalty better than its competitor did all the right things. They ensured social distancing was in place. They ensured that they safeguarded the vulnerable. They're a strong brand, of course. Both brands actually are. They definitely contributed towards the community coming together and really us fighting together stronger during this period. And consumers felt that when the economy stabilizes, this brand will actually bounce back a lot sooner or better than competitors. And essentially the question is, how can we compile this for your brand and what does your level of loyalty actually look like? Further impacts of COVID, which we saw and still see, of course, is the impact on online usage. So we are 33% more comfortable to actually enter our personal details online. I laugh at looking at some stats a couple of surveys ago where I remember discussing with clients that South Africans were concerned at how their parcel would actually arrive at their home and thus wouldn't actually order online. We've become a lot more comfortable since then. Also, we use the internet these days for online shopping, to do price comparisons, to look at voucher codes, for online auctioning, banking, finance, and investing. These are all elements we're so much more comfortable with. And of course, we purchase in ebooks and books and purchases for our business and clothing, of course, but particularly more so for the ladies. The impact on advertising, this is quite an interesting element for me. Advertising's hard features like price and product and distribution, the functional elements, definitely bear more weighting now than they did pre-COVID, where the softer elements worked a lot more powerfully than they do now. And then, of course, our impact on media, as we saw earlier, is an increase in TV and digital, our viewing time, and of course, a substantial increase in terms of digital audiences. So interestingly, the criteria for considering different media channels is shifting. It's becoming more and more about the brand fit, the ideologies and the philosophies, and not only about how effectively brands can reach their target audience. Thus, it's so important to consider your media strategy in combination with an updated profile of your target segments to ensure that your impact and effect is right. So what are the new opportunity areas which COVID has shared with us, the silver lining essentially? What are the post-COVID segments which we should look at? Firstly, expressive women. Females have really shown strength during COVID-19 due to gender-based violence. They do criticize, they challenge, and they definitely have courage, which is a great thing. We also see personal agency, and that's really about taking your own control, your initiative, and living a self-determined life. These are new segments which we can focus on, as well as the online access and fulfillment elements, which I'd love to unpack further on the next slide, as well as new financial models which actually combine formal and informal sectors. This requires innovative marketing. This requires new messaging and new placement to be effective in the current marketplace. Of course, hygiene is an essential, as we saw with the retailers a little bit earlier, but also we can see that science really matters. We're so tired of fake news. We place a lot more gravitas on scientific journals these days just to hear what the actual truth is. And CSI in terms of community centricity is completely key during this pandemic and post. So how can you make this work for your brand? Which are the elements which you should focus on, which are important? So let's look at the digital life cycle and adoption curve. And Maloney recommends that we need to hit a 16% adoption ratio where we can really get to a point of impacting the market quite effectively in terms of our digital strategies. So initially we find the early adopters will dabble into a digital space and gain awareness of different brands. This is a certain type of customer or customer segment, and the more that these customers actually go into the growth phase of the adoption curve, they change significantly in their compilation. And of course, we want to reach that 16% adoption ratio because that's essentially where you reach a mass market. So your messaging and your media strategy in the initial phase of introduction needs to be based on scarcity, whereas in the growth adoption curve elements, it needs to be based on social proof. So it's so important to tap into who are your segments pre and post the tipping point because they will require something very, very different. What is also quite interesting to see is the rise of the novel generation. This is a generation which is growing and really compiles or ranges across all generational segments. So Gen Zs and Gen Ys probably are online, they are dabbling digitally. And what this novel generation includes is that obviously COVID has enabled them to be more intense around their digital interaction. And for those Gen X and baby boomers who never were online, they definitely are online now. So this novel generation is emergent around different customer segments which aren't digitally centric. It's also emotionally charged together with digital centricity. And the characteristics of this generation is that they require elements of social consciousness to ensure that they are engaged. They are also looking for health and safety elements. They like a sense of control. They like that they have greater choices and flexibility and can save time, and that they essentially have an overall level of convenience. But this is a generation which was completely unexpected, and it's important to pinpoint where in your customer grouping does this actually sit. Essentially, this brings us to understanding consumer trends, right? Behavioral changes, and we can see we've had a lot of those during the pre and current COVID-19 phases. What are those spending and consumption patterns? How has that changed in your marketplace? And all of these elements essentially enabling you to take meaningful action. Some of the elements which we include in TGI, which you can help to unpack this, is of course the source of income of your target market and how that's changed, their debit and their credit behavior, stockfile usage. We had such a discussion around that on our last webinar in terms of the number of stockfiles, the type of stockfiles which are included, consumer shopping baskets, the influence of technology and the internet and that novel generation, drivers of loyalty, those have changed, values in society, and of course government perception as well. So it's really about being socially responsible in our messaging and understanding our consumers and how they've changed in terms of effective media strategy going forward. So that's where we can help you. This is where TGI can help you clear the fog. And how we do that is that We've been fortunate enough to have gotten COVID research during the lockdown period, which has enabled our team to be in field during all levels of COVID or lockdown, except for level 5. This hasn't enabled us just to ask a couple of questions, but the full spectrum of TGI to enable you to do an analysis on every level to understand your next stepping point within this context. So your brand's positioning matters now more than ever. The beautiful part of TGI is we've got data in South Africa since 2003. You can really relate in terms of what did life look like pre our last recession, normal life after our 2008 recession, what's life happening now in COVID, and of course, what are the next steps to take forward for brand excellence and behavior. So what makes TGI powerful? Essentially, we can diagnostically understand how your consumer segmentations and personas have changed and how they can be met in the market. Many times when we have client conversations, they tell us, okay, these are our customer segments, but they don't really know what the next step is. And that really is the beauty of TGI. It's got actionable elements within it, which really help to understand what do I do about the information which I currently have at hand. So TGI can help you to increase your engagement and communication by looking at, firstly, who is your segment or your customer grouping and which elements are important to communicate in your messaging, and of course, which are the right channels to do so, linked to COVID status and mindset in terms of where we are as consumers. Should you like to extrapolate your current target markets into the bigger marketplace, TGI empowers you to acquire a newer marketplace or a newer consumer by focusing on your potential markets and really identifies lower hanging fruit opportunities for you. Also, you can increase your retention by getting a deeper sense of knowledge in terms of how your consumer behaves, prefers, and acts, and of course, to increase your value through effective targeting. Globally, TGI is available in 70 different countries and markets around the world and is generally the de facto local currency for media buying and selling in these environments. In South Africa, TGI is used as a consumer or audience or customer profiling tool. It essentially gives you access to full brands, products, demographics, and media in the marketplace to cater for your marketing strategies, but also to give you the tactical insights in terms of what to do next. It is the broadest consumer profiling tool on all of those elements which I've just mentioned now. But not only that, it gives you a pre and a post or current COVID view. So you can really look at all elements of your market, what has changed and what you can do about that now. So our unrivaled consumer profiling is across a nationally representative sample. It's stable, it's reliable, it's tried and tested. We've been in South Africa since 2003 and can beautifully track back then. But it also helps you to understand the relationships between all of these elements, which I'm going to discuss now. So our predefined segments, those which include life values, life events, life stages, word of mouth, all from renowned marketers and psychologists. Those are, of course, included to give you a quick profile on what your market looks like. Our psychographics, you have 400 of those. Attitudes towards finances, media, motivations, luxury, really just tapping into finances and shopping, any element which you'd like to get a better sense of understanding of. Township sample, it's about 8,000 interviews over an annual database of 24,000 interviews. And there we understand the cultural nuances between Soweto, Khayelitsha, Katlehong, and any township available or prevalent in communities larger than 8,000 in South Africa. Shopping behavior and segmentations, so interesting always to compare shopper perceptions versus consumer perceptions. It's sometimes such a different market where we sometimes assume it's the same. And then, of course, all of this information can be plotted onto a map for you to do area analysis and distribution strategies. And the beauty of this is that it's integrated. It's available in one source. It's the largest brand spectrum. You've got massive sample sizes where you don't need to doubt your analysis. You know that you're basing your strategies on credible facts and insights. On that, did you know that F&B customers can now replace their lost or their stolen cards at ShopRite and Checkers, and they don't need to go into the bank? It's all now available at the money markets. This kind of strategy can be easily unpacked through TGI by understanding the relationships between all the different variables in play. There's a lot of scope available in TGI, and that you can see from this screen. Should you like to delve into telecommunications, we partner with Arthur Goldstuck on the digital section of TGI's questionnaire. There is so much in there, from social media to websites preferred to visit, the hours you spend online per day, etc. A rich finance section, which includes stockpile, short, long-term insurance, funeral policies, etc., as well as pharmaceutical data, retail data, FMCG data. So it's really rich and robust in terms of understanding the nuances of our local marketplace. And uniquely in South Africa, we include the government sector, which really just helps us to profile the different segments in South Africa, which the GCIS uses optimally for communication. In 2018, not so long ago, our local team basically won a global Jenny Davis Award. It was awarded to us in Porto, which really was just kicking off our innovation. So let me quickly just tell you about that award. The Jenny Davis Award was awarded to our team because of our future-proof methodology. So in the past, what we did is we presented a full questionnaire with all 19 product sectors to a single respondent. And during this award, and what we really did is we chunked this questionnaire into 3 chunks. So essentially, we present 3 different questionnaires to 3 different individuals, which of course just makes for a beautiful interview. We then fuse this data together to offer our clients an integrated experience. And this really just kicked off our innovation. So I'm going to tell you a lot about our upcoming innovation shortly, but what we've recently done, which has been exceptionally effective, is we target high-end individuals, and any of those of you who are in research will know what a trick it is to actually get a hold of these individuals. So our partnership together with GeoTerra Image and their neighborhood lifestyle index indicator, essentially, which includes credit bureau data, enables us to select respondents who are in high incomes. So they could potentially be living in gated communities or difficult to access areas. And we are now able to effectively target them, but also to host an effective interview in terms of access with these individuals with legitimately high income respondents with verified income. So it's not a claimed income perspective or usage, it's based on actual credit bureau data, which really gives a massive sense of comfort in terms of talking to the right customer segment and really representing South Africa in its full context. So what you can do, of course, with TGI's nationally representative sample, these 24,000 interviews, which include the higher income individuals, is you can definitely generalize. Our data delivers quality, and of course, innovation and global best practice are part of our genes. And to take this Jenny Davis Award a step further, or really just to take the fusion elements of it a step further, we not only can fuse the different chunks of our questionnaire together, but you can fuse your customer data together with TGI's data. Can you imagine what that will do, especially if you can link it to COVID behaviors, as well as online or social media segments, different like values, which retailers do they prefer to shop at, etc. The analytical opportunities are really powerful and really gives us a better sense in terms of who is our customer base, how can we extrapolate that, and how can we maximize our solutions and marketing strategies in the marketplace. So TGI is really flexible and can be used by any stakeholder in the marketplace, by marketers, of course, to better understand the market and advertisers, which are the next best steps and how should we then best do that using informed and factual data, but also supporting agencies to be creative, to partner with marketers in terms of creating an informed strategy, and the collaboration really works beautifully. We've got some beautiful case studies in terms of where we've worked together to create new go-to-market segments. And of course, media owners really use TGI powerfully for audience profiling and undoubtedly as a sales tool. We've got some beautiful case studies, once again, where our media owners have shared with us that TGI has helped them to sell with values which they never thought would be possible. So let's talk to some exciting innovations which we can expect to see going forward. We've introduced an online panel in terms of our data collection in TGI. The reason for that, of course, is, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we can now access gated communities really confidently and talk to legitimately high-income individuals. But the beauty of this is that we don't just offer online. We offer online in combination with the face-to-face fieldwork which we conduct. So you essentially get the best of both worlds. We're also delighted to share with you that timelines will be shorter. We've twisted the rubber arm of our data processing team in India, and we now predictably going forward will be releasing data every January and every July, so that's really shortened our data release period, important for agility of brands in the current marketplace. Then we've got some new exciting segmentation, which I'd like to take you through on the next few slides, and then the inclusion of COVID questions, specific questions integrated with all this demographic, media, psychographic, and branded insights available for you. So let's look at some of the new robust segmentations available. Generational segmentations, Gen Y, Z, all of those elements which I discussed a little bit earlier. Also social DNA, and essentially social DNA looks at cultural and economic segments of our marketplace to look at relevant sponsorship and promotional solutions for them. Then a social media segmentation that's really looking at how connected we are online and how influential we are online, and how we can segment customers based on that so we can use our social media strategy quite effectively. Also some e-commerce clusters that's really looking at those connected dabblers or passive socialites, to what extent are they actually buying online or just price checking. Shopper archetypes, that includes, for example, ethical empathizers, those individuals who would only purchase ethically, or the accustomed acquirers, those individuals who have repeat purchases at the same retailer, and that's probably changed quite a bit now during COVID. Quality crusaders, conscious connoisseurs, strategic savers who will prioritize their budgets in any elements of their shopping experience. And then Ocean, I think this is going to be one of my favorites, that really looks at the 5 personality traits of openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. And we'll obviously have the polar opposites of those 5 personality traits, which you can use to understand your market. The COVID-19 component included in TGI really focuses around distress and coping mechanisms during COVID. So that really looks at our emotional states, our sentiments around our psychological and emotional well-being, also the impact of mass media and its effects on us and how we're basically coping through that, our engagements with society. Some of us feel more comfortable to stay home. Some of us really crave social interaction, and we can really place it with that element within the questions and questionnaire. And of course, the impact on our finances and our overall livelihood and how that's been affected during COVID. But not only those, we are also delighted to share with you access to choices online. So for those of you who prefer to work on your Mac, we have a choices online solution for you now, where you can access TGI anywhere at any time. This really offers speedy manipulation and delivery of the data in flexible formats for you. It's accessible via a laptop, an iPad, a Mac. It offers data visualization solutions for you. There really are limitless options for self-service solutions should you like to access TGI data. So that's quite exciting in terms of availability. And also, you can partner with us to get the best-in-class marketing capabilities. Apart from just a COVID-19 market overview, we can share with you strategic planning initiatives for your marketplace. And why I always say we can do that with you, should you like to partner with us, that's exactly what we do. We partner. We look at the optimal setup, what are your requirements as a team, and best service so that you can enjoy the benefits of the data insights and outputs, should you like to, or if you're quite data savvy, you can have your own hands on the actual data to delve. But essentially, our model is really flexible across both options, whichever is easiest and best for you. We'll help you to understand consumer trends, to revise your segmentation. It's so different, and also to ensure that your sponsorship and promotional spend well reaches your target market. So today's markets are obviously needs to take a much more nuanced view in terms of what does his or her market look like, potential markets to delve best into with media and marketing spend these days. And we're excited to share with you the busiest slide you've probably seen this year. And it's difficult essentially for us to incorporate all of this information onto one slide. So this is a poster which we have created. This is an updated poster which we're releasing now, of course, using the latest and updated data of South Africa, split into 10 income groupings using TGI's global socioeconomic level income segmentation. This is a segmentation based on personal income or personal income potential, and really just profiles the entire South African market from high to low income around demographics, media, psychographics, and brands. But what's special about this poster is that we've seen it in our clients' offices, in marketing directors' offices, in CEO offices, and really just creates a beautiful touch point of reference in terms of what does the local marketplace look like. And the most exciting breaking news, this happened within the last week, which our team has been so excited. AakAfrika has been commissioned by the Broadcast Research Council to provide a measure to radio owners and communities to fill the gap between the previous RAC survey and the new RAC survey, the supplier which will be commissioned in January 2020. So TGI filling a beautiful gap in the marketplace, enabling radio owners to better understand their audiences and to plan appropriately with so much detail that it provides confidence to navigate during this crucial time in our market. So get your COVID-19 tracking data. It's available in 10 days' time. We're most excited to not only share those high-level insights of comparatives, but what does the pre and current COVID data look like for your brand. It will enable you to use the COVID-19 consumer impact as a marker for your analysis, but also enabling you to forecast the future and put your best foot forward in terms of best strategies. It also will help us to understand brand and media patterns, and that will be available in South Africa for this period and before, and of course trending back as far as you would like to go. So this is data available essentially to strengthen the predictability of your analysis. If you'd like, you can compare 6 month to 6 month or annual to annual data periods, but essentially we'll give you facts at your fingertips to make the best and most informed decisions. So all of this power is available starting at only 20,000 Rand a month. So just ask us, connect with us, and this data can be yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria, for those fantastic insights. I know that was really just a snapshot of what the trends are at the moment and what you guys can tap into, but thank you for those insights. I am incredibly surprised to hear that clothing purchases have increased during the time of COVID. But I am also not surprised to see that it's only the women that went shopping. Clearly, the guys only lived in their track pants and their shorts while at home. So thank you for that. Some fantastic stuff there. I think also, what you said about brand belonging and loyalty plays such a big part right now. And I think going forward, the brands that are communicating will be the brands that survive in the long run. And I think for me, just an example of a brand in South Africa that did such a great job during this COVID time was Virgin Active SA. The way they communicated and kept their customer base up to date the entire time, even if they didn't have the answers, they were really transparent and honest about what was going on and what they are busy doing. The way they came up with solutions and offerings for people to do online classes, still keep them participated and engaged, I think was fantastic. And then all their protocols when they opened their gyms again. So for me, that was just an example of a brand that probably did it right for me this year. One that I could relate to as well. And I think going forward, now is not the time as a brand and as a brand manager of a company to be silent. So if you are not speaking to your consumers yet, or if you have gone a bit quiet, I think right now is the time to actually engage with your consumers, get their feedback, start talking to them, offering them some solutions. And I know that AakAfrika can definitely help, to tell you where to talk to your consumers and how to talk to them and how frequently. And then also it's really nice to just have all those, insights on the consumer psychographics and their sentiments, about life at the moment, especially relating to COVID times. The other trend you touched on was also the increase in technology and the usage of that. So why don't we quickly just go to the polls and do another quick poll here with our audience. If technology, what trend do you think technology will have the greatest impact on our industry in the next year? So we've got 4 choices there. Would it be the internet and smart home tech? Would it be augmented reality, virtual reality stuff, machine learning, or then humanized big data? Let's just get your feedback there on what you are saying and what your thoughts are on how things will be impacted in the next year. It looks like machine learning is taking the lead at the moment. I definitely think that internet and smart home tech would also be on the increase there, guys. So if you don't know where that poll button is, it's literally just at the bottom of your screen next to the ask question. You can just click on that poll and just give us some information there. Give us your opinion on it. And funny enough, I saw that someone asked in the previous poll about the person who wanted to be invisible, if they actually managed to disappear, because we forgot to mention them as well. We got about 3 votes for the guys who wanted to be invisible. Right, so it looks like people are saying that machine learning is going to really be one of the technology trends that will impact the most on our industry in the next year, and that is quite interesting. And I think there also, we're seeing an increase there on bots, chatbots, WhatsApp bots, for instance, lots of WhatsApp lines going up, automated responses, and I think people are wanting a lot more direct and immediate interaction and communication from brands, So also something to remember and keep in mind is to consider the ways of communicating with your brand, So what technology to use and what role technology will play. And once again, AakAfrika will be able to give you all of those insights and help you, if you are a bit in the dark at the moment with what your consumers are thinking about your brand. I think, just to reiterate that the presentation and the slides will be available at the end of the webinar. We'll provide you guys with a link that you can download that on, just to get some of those slides. And then also everyone who did register today, we will send you an email with a follow-up link that you can also just download and use that. It's fantastic info to share back at your companies as well. I think, Maria, are there any questions from the audience? You're welcome to just type us a line or 2 if you'd like us to just answer anything specific that you'd like Maria to touch on. So please, ask away. Maria, just one of the questions that is coming through also is, for instance, how often is the TGI data released? I think you touched on that. Maybe you can just reiterate that.
With pleasure, Benham. So the TGI data is currently released twice a year and will predictably be released every January and July from this year forward, next year forward.
Fantastic. And Maria, if I, as a brand owner or brand manager, how do I, or can I integrate TGI data, with my own customer data and my customer base that I might have? How could you map those or overlay those? Can you tell us a bit more about that, please?
Yes, I think that's where significant power really sits in terms of the integration of databases. So TGI, as I've mentioned, has so much rich data included in it. But should you like to just bring it a little bit closer, we've got some beautiful case studies with retailers, financial service institutions, where we've essentially created a link between our databases, creating the right format link between TGI data and our client's database. Our team, of course, then looks at the variables which are available in the two databases to create linking opportunities. Yeah, there have been some amazing case studies, particularly around with one of our FMCG clients. They said, these are our segments, but I don't know how to action them now. I don't know necessarily what to do or what the next steps are. We're integrated with TGI and it created the next beautiful step in terms of engagement, sponsorship, promotional elements, what their criteria of choice were when they went food shopping. Was it price or quality or packaging? What are the different elements which would be important to communicate to that specific segment? So beautifully actionable and entirely rich. It's beautiful.
That sounds absolutely fantastic, Maria. So also, I just want to know, with a brand, and obviously you have a set amount of questions and things that you're answering in your surveys, is it possible for a brand or a company to, customize the questions or the segmentation to what you already have for their use?
Great question. Absolutely, Benham. So what we do with our clients who we partner with, of course, we would like to ensure that the questionnaire is updated regularly and relevant to the local marketplace with all its changes. So we definitely update the questionnaire every 6 months. Always welcome questionnaire feedback. And if there are elements which you feel are missing or you would like an update on, we of course are open to those suggestions. And should you want to include quite a batch of questions, let's say you have a predefined algorithm which you use to create your specific segments, you could definitely purchase some of those questions to be included in TGI for this beautiful integration.
So definitely customizable and then also scalable according to your needs as a brand and what you might require from the team. So yeah, I think that more or less wraps up what we have for you this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us from all over. It is great to host you this afternoon. My name is Benham van Jaarsveld. It was an absolute pleasure to be with you. If you have any questions for the AakAfrika team, just on how to enhance your brand, how to get those insights, and to find out a bit more about your customers, what they're thinking, what they want to do, where to take them to, please get in touch with the AakAfrika team and they will be able to get in touch and provide you with some solutions and discussion points. And as we said, that link for the presentation will be available on the screen right now, and we will also be mailing that link to you in your email. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Fine, thank you.